Hey everyone. So in tonight's installment, we're going to focus on obviously the stock market and what transpired today. The most important thing I want to go over is the focus of this is going to be the squeezes that happened today. I have a lot to go over, and I want to give you ideas on how when some of these things start going parabolic, how you can find levels and make them actionable. I also have two I'm going to go over at the end of the video that I think have the potential to move tomorrow. There's two in particular that seem to me to be setting up for very large moves. So I want to go over those, but let's just jump right into it. As always, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications. We do a pre-market show every morning where we give actionable ideas, do a quick, Q&A. Good half hour before the market opens, 8:45, but the time changes. So you need to be subscribed to the channel and click notifications so that you're notified of that. So please do that. We actually have a pretty good time doing it. I know I do. Let me leave it at that. I have a good time doing it. So let's just dig right into this and let me just get rid of some of the other stuff that I was screwing around with on the chart. Let me just get rid of some of these things and we'll clear it up a little bit and get rid of this relative strength. And then we're going to get right into this. Okay. So we're just going to do this in alphabetical order. If you have private questions you don't want to have in comments while I have this up, you can just use this email, Arete at aretetrading.net. There's some things that people don't want other people to know and they still want an opinion. My purpose of doing this is to educate people is what it takes to be truly successful trading. So if you have something, just email me. I respond to everyone. It just takes time. Could take like a day. I'm pretty good with it, but we're getting a lot now. So that's pretty much it. Let's get that off the screen. And we're just going to start with the A's. So let's just dive right into this and let's get rid of the post-market, pre-market data. You can see the difference, right? But let's just get rid of it. So AHT was one that somebody was interested in before. And we were looking at this 344 level. I said, wait till it breaks this 441 level. It has done that. But there's another level here too that we were looking at on AHT, right? All the way back here. And let's really dig into this for a minute because this is important to look at. We don't really need the indicators for this. So you could see how you have this base right here and how we attempted to get above that base and then failed and where we're sitting right now. So there's another move here that could happen. And I know this is a smaller name and I'm not crazy about them, but if you get through the 613 on the weekly, that's confirmation that this is probably going to be support and no longer resistance. So that's something to consider if you're in this. So you're really looking for the 613 to flip. If that flips, pay attention to it. Other than that, if you're in this, congratulations, and I would just stay in the trade. I mean, I don't really see any reason to do anything. And I'm just going to focus on this, not the whole, because this is kind of immaterial to what we're dealing with now, right? It's really only these 3-4 lines that matter. And if you overlay your indicators with them, you can see that your indicators are pointing up. And what's really important is your volume is increasing. So this is AHT, and I can see why someone's in it. So AMC, we're going to spend a lot of time with. I'm going to try not to spend too much time with it. Let's get rid of this fib level sequence, and let's put this over here. So, and let's close this. So, the other day we were talking about this and we were saying that with the way it closed, we really had no idea what was going to happen. You had this inside day and I gave 3 opinions on what could happen. You could go up, you could go flat, you could go down. And we obviously saw what happened today, right? It obviously went up. What's important to note is let's get rid of all these lines. There's a couple things that I really want you to note and just remember or take notes. So when you look at something like this, right, it's very poignant that you leave these levels in, okay? It's really important. So when you leave these levels in and then you become actionable during the day, it gives you a basis. Like for everybody that was panicking on this today or didn't know what to do or didn't know what to buy, people that had this chart and they were set up for it, right? I mean, they knew exactly what to do. I mean, exactly. If it gets to this level, I'm out. If it hits this level, this is where I could buy it and set up a stop around there, right? This was a very easy trade today. And you could see this from the open. And let me just drill into this so that you can see this. And then I'm going to give you a couple different ways to monitor this. But So here you are in the daily. I mean, it doesn't, hold on. It doesn't get any easier than that, right? I mean, we don't even need the indicators, but it doesn't get any easier than that. I mean, you have a morning star pattern right on a major support line. It's just, it doesn't get any simpler than something like that. So just consider that to put in your weekly levels as well as monthly levels, and you can use them even on a 1 minute chart. They do work, and they do give you a support line. And then this just traded all around the place today. I was all over this thing. You can look at my Twitter feed. I was long, I was short. This was just a huge moneymaker for people today. You know, I bought options. It was literally just a home run today. I mean, there's really no other way to describe it. It was just a huge mover for people, and you can go on there. And I even just like skimming this and just pulling money out of it was very easy. So I gave this today for people to look at, and I'm going to just dig into this with you. See this wedge? So as soon as this wedge transpired, right, and hit, that was it. Even though I came down on this part of the wedge, and I do this with my wedges when I draw them, right? So you can see how this wedge was drawn, right? If you have questions about this wedge, just comment and I'll answer them. But I always extend the wedge lines out just a little bit, right? And the reason I do that is because they'll follow a pattern. And what got me here was, and this is I'm going to walk you exactly through the trade I did, and you can look at the timestamps on Twitter, was as soon as you opened here on this downward trend line and you were below this one, right? What did you do? You popped right back over it and into like this kill zone, right? But the other side of the kill zone, which is really in here, right? As soon as you did that, it was a trade that you all of a sudden need to become interested in and go, oh, well, that's interesting. We should have followed this down, and we're not following this line anymore. Why? And so once we pop back up into there and then we get back over this line, that's all you really need to see. It's literally that simple, right? So that's why I extend these lines out. Now, if I didn't have these lines extended out, my problem would have been like looking at that fast, because you have to think, like if you're going to trade, you have to think that you need to look and be able to process data very, very fast, right? You need to be ahead of everyone. Right? You're not going to be ahead of the high frequency traders, but your process can be faster. And in regards to what your advantages are as a trader versus theirs, right? So if I have this set up like this, I really can't, I'm not going to remember where these are. I'm not going to extrapolate these out when, you know, this thing's moving 100% in the day and I'm trying to figure out, do I go long? Do I buy puts? You know, or calls, and you're trying to figure it all out, and why the implied volatility is 600%. Like there's too many factors coming at you right away. So by extending these out, when we did that, that was it. Now, I knew that I wanted my risk to be here, but I also knew that this could come in any moment and just pull one of these. You have to understand, when you're in something like this and it moves 100%, you could be down, 10 points in a minute. Like it happens. We've all seen it happen. And, even the people that have been in this one, we know it can happen. We know this thing could get cut in half in literally minutes. So you have to watch that. But what this did was simple. And then as soon as I got in and I was up a point, all I did was put a trailing stop on it. And I signed a dollar value. I think it was at $1. And even though it was a fairly decent sized trade, it doesn't matter. It's not going to execute until it goes against me. So I was able to pull, just off of this move on a 15-minute chart, I was able to pull 3.5 points out of it. Okay. I ran all up to here. I'm obviously not going to get that because I have a trailing stop, right? So when the dollar kicked off, it kicked off. So I made from 64 to 67.54 by the time the trade kicked off, I think, or 67.45. So that was the trade, and that was it in a nutshell, just to pull more money out on a very simple trade. Now, why I like a trailing stop on trades like this, you don't have to think, right? So let's say that you're buying this here, right? And then you see how you break here on this one, and then you break here and you're like, you know what? I don't know where this is going. I have no idea where this is going. Anyone that tells you they know where this is going today is just lying, right? At $50, we didn't know if it was going to break down or go up 20 points, which, nobody knew. So when you see this happen, now you have data. Now you can process that data and come up with a plan. Okay, so I open, I go to the low, I get above that open, and then I go above this and go, oh, well, that's a trigger. Okay, I'll go with that right here. Okay, well, how much is my risk? And then you execute on this, right? And then this low would be your stop, 48.85. So roughly you're looking at, where was this? I'm just giving you an example here, and I want to use exact numbers so that you understand the risk. So you're roughly looking at $1.50. So what I could have done here very simply was, I don't know how fast this thing's going to move, if I'm going to be able to get out of it. I'm going to put $1.50 stop on it. If you put $1.50 stop on this, okay, and you take a look at where you're at here, right? This is what happened in 15 minutes. So, and you're open and you close at the day. Now let's just go through this, right? We can see what time this took place. Let's just drill down into this a little sooner, a little shorter time frame so we can see how this would have played out, right? So here's where we were, right? And all these bars just kept going. So you would have gotten stopped out around here, $58, roughly. So for $1.50 of risk, okay, and let's just say it's 58 was the high. Where was the high? 61.5. So you would have got stopped out at 60.5, $60, 59.5, 59.75, depending upon slippage, right? That's not a bad trade, right? For 15 minutes worth of work. So that's one way to play these when they're moving faster, is assign a trailing stop predicated upon the value of your risk. Because as it goes up, you're going to want to utilize that risk and reduce your risk anyway, right? So that's one way to play them. So, and I know I'm spending a lot of time on this one today, but this is really important because some of these others are going to move like this tomorrow. I think some of these are going to move tomorrow. I have two that I think are going to move. We're going to go over at the end of the day. I just want to explain these. And Fibonacci's during the day, if the stock is breaking out and making highs and highs and highs, start moving the Fibonacci's. Don't just leave them stagnant in there, right? So in other words, like, there's no reason to leave the Fibonacci lying here if we've hit here, like an hour later. That's what I'm getting at. It's pointless. You need to figure out the true levels. Now, what's interesting about this is, why am I throwing this in here? I'm throwing this in here because this is the only real roadmap you have right now to tell you where this is going. This is the only thing that you could actually use to determine some levels that are going on right now. And for me, the only way to do that is to look at this and go, okay, what is really happening here? So let me get rid of the English guy from one of my services. Okay. So what we're going to do here, and what I'm saying here is, this is really all you have. And these are the levels that you have to use. If someone could look at this on a daily chart, come up with different levels, I'm all ears. Now, can I do this and find different levels? Absolutely. Are they as poignant, or 15-minute levels as poignant as daily levels? Absolutely not. So, if you don't want to be there and say, I'm going to hold this forever and marry it, right? And you actually want to have a process, you need to set up what that process is. So here's your high, until you break out of this high. And if you break this high, which can happen, right? I mean, look, when Tilray ran, we broke out from 20 to 80. We thought we hit the lotto, and then it wound up running to 300. And people were shorting it in between there. So when these run, it's not even a question of who's short. People just keep shorting, and they just keep trapping themselves, right? So that's why this one's AMC is way more interesting to me than GMC, because there's so much stock to short that people keep shorting it. So I think it's a completely different beast. I don't think this ends with a GME type move where there's no more stock to short. There's a ton of stock to short. So I think it's different, but I'm digressing. What I want you to do is focus on the above levels, meaning if I break 72, your next level is 88. I get up to 88, move the fibs up, move that to the one line. You follow me? And that'll give you an idea on where your next play is, right? That's the way to do it. And then you can always go up here and see where these next levels are. But this gives you an understanding of how you can assess where your return is going to be, right? That's one way to do it, and where your risk is going to be. So in other words, if I don't get above this, most likely I'm coming back down to $58, right? That's the way to look at it. Your indicators that are down here and moving averages are going to do very, very little right now, very little. So this is the easiest way to use it. What would I do from here? I will be trading this long and short again tomorrow. Right now, after hours, we closed at 64, and I think we're up a little bit, 66. The strength of this leads me to believe it's going higher. I had puts today. I was short today. I was long today. I was all over this. But the two stops that this stock had and the fact that it didn't break, it leads me to believe that you're just seeing other people that are just taking the place of the other people that were short. And I just think this could go for a little bit before it gets exhausted. Until people say, that's it, I've had enough. So this does have the potential to go higher. The big trade is if it breaks this 72.67 level. So that's it for AMC. I hope those ways of playing it are helpful. Think about it again, rewatch that part of it. Trailing stops, think about them. Figure out how to use them. Fib levels, how you move them up and down. So just pay attention to that. It is important, and you can profit from it. So I let me rephrase that. I profit from it. So, and I'm not a rocket scientist, so I'm sure you can too. ASO, there was a lady that messaged me about this, and she's got a very good point. This has a very large short position. This was actually on one of our stocks that was going to get squeezed list about 2-3 weeks ago. It was down here around 32, 33, and then it popped up. And what we're seeing here is we're seeing a decent move in it, aren't we? But we still have this overhead resistance up here, so we're going to have to watch that. Now, I do want to just point this out because she is right. Earnings are next week, so we should be paying attention to that. And that gets you to the 40 level. But with the short interest that's out there, and I don't really understand it, the short interest is there because people think they can't meet demand. They can't meet demand. What does that have to do with, like everybody wants a business where you can't meet demand, right? So I don't really get their thesis. You're not going to make your numbers because you can't meet demand. Okay, you're going to raise prices. And guess what? You're going to meet demand. You're going to increase production. You're going to meet demand. Eventually, it's going to happen. So the short thesis on that side of it doesn't make sense. But I would want to flip this line. I'm not going to play this for 4 points. And that's all I really have to say about that one. But it should be on your radar. So BB was one that we went over pre-market today, and I'd recommend that you follow us or follow me pre-market. We go over actionable ideas every morning, Q&A. It's actually a lot of fun. I'm having a great time doing it. Just subscribe, click notifications, and they'll let you know. They just update you when it comes on. But I just want to go through this trade because we really nailed this trade today, and I want everyone to understand how we nailed it. So you see where you're at on this 12.5, right? We were very clear on where that level was, okay? So when this opened up today, and I'm going to walk through both trades, the one that worked and the one that didn't work. So when this opened up today, you can see exactly where we went. And let's get rid of these indicators so that this will blow this up. And let's pull this down here. And you're probably going to want to mark this video in some levels because I'm going to go over a bunch of stuff. So I don't know what this is, but it does not look like something that I need. So you see here how we touched here. I waited for this to open, rally, and get above. And then when it did that, that's when I got in. So I got in at around $12.99. And then it ran up. I was feeling pretty good about myself. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to honor my stop. I got stopped out. Okay. I mean, it's pretty clear. I got stopped out. So I took the loss, and then I just watched the trade, kept banging, tried to get above this, couldn't. You can see this level right here, right? Now, this is all off that 12.5 line from this chart. Let's just go through this. You understand how we're doing this. Okay? It's all from this, right? All from that wedge, that one little line. And that's how we're trading this. On what? A 1 minute chart. Okay? So let's just keep going. So you hit here. This was it. And that's when I just said, I'm getting back in this. No one likes a quitter. And that was that was the trade. So I put the trade on for the second time. As soon as we broke, boom, and I guarantee you that when I did it, you'll see some, or when it broke here, you could see like these little spikes of volume into it. This was the first halt of AMC. I did not have paper hands, as the kids say, so I held the position. And then as this blew off, and I'll walk you through this blow off so you can see it, because I look at multiple time frames during the day. So I'll say it again. I look at multiple time frames during the day, with the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 15, the half hour, the hour. I'm constantly looking at my positions, trying to get information and process it. So I did this, okay? And when I did this, this gave signs on this one that this was going to happen, right? Does anyone know what that looks like? Looks like a bearish engulfing, right? See how you took the top of this out and the bottom of this out? So I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not hanging out for this. We opened here, the low, boom, that was it. And I'm like, all right, I got to trim and sell half and then just move the rest of it up to my break even. And now it's a free trade. If I come in tomorrow and it's up big, I'm in good shape. So let's just see what happens with it. But I really think that this is setting up to move. And I would argue that when stocks are moving like this, these other resistance lines, even back here, like Blackberry, let me just go to this on the monthly, right? When you start going back here, even these lines, they still hold value. Right? There's still value in these. So you're really at a level where you're saying this could get to 31, 30, hold on, 34. Where's the other line? I mean, we're going back 20 years, 29. So these are the lines. There's nothing there to stop this. You have this right here, 18, right? And you obviously have this peak here, but this is setting up to challenge that. So it's one of the reasons I held on to this. Keep this in mind. And if you want an extra layer of what's going on in the daily and you have parabolic moves like that, just throw these in. And it'll tell you everything you need to know. It'll give you an understanding of other levels where there may be significance, okay? And their fib levels. So just keep that in mind. So BBB, this is a great example of one. I think we were in this one before. That's why that's there. This is a great example of, here's the level, get through the level and you run. What do you do with something like this? This is the only thing that you could really do with it. Let's say you go out and you look at this from a weekly standpoint, right? And you see these wild swings and you see all this that's up here. Let's get rid of these events. And you can see how wild this is getting, right? But this is really immaterial to what's going on right now. What you would look at with something like this is go to the daily, grab fibs, put them on the top, drop them to where that base is. Some would argue that you can go here. I think the left-hand part of the chart after the break is not as significant. It's just the way that I draw them. Everybody's different. And you can kind of see how mine just by doing this without even knowing how mine just laid in there, right? See how it hit here and then how it formed this base and it just happened to land on this base and land on this base. Everybody draws them differently. Mine work for me. Let me just leave it at that without getting too into it. So what is this telling us, right? This is telling us that 47 is realistic and that 42 is some level of support where we're at, the 61% retracement from the high of this. So these are levels that you need to pay attention to. Pay attention to this 47.25 level. Pay attention to this 42 level. If you break that 42 level, you're probably going to want to be out of it because the 30s come into play. And that's how I would play this. That's how I would play this one. This has a lot of potential to do and take this out, especially people are going to say, why am I saying that? This volume, the amount of volume that I have here versus here is substantial. And to put it into perspective, when you're looking at these, I'm just going to throw this in here real quick. Okay. Just to put this in perspective, this is relative volume. All right. So relative volume, I'm up 11x on the day. I wasn't even up 11x here. So that kind of puts you in a perspective of what's really going on here. If any of them are going to run and continue to run, it's most likely this one. I mean, like that volume is just absolutely sick. If the ones that had moves, it's going to be hard because now people are going to start looking for the next move, right? And that's what's going to start happening. Two of the stocks that I'm interested in for tomorrow that I'm going to go over with you, their moves, I'm more interested in what happens next, if that makes sense. BGFV 32.96, we broke out today. I mean, it did exactly what we needed it to do. This is a classic breakout. There's really very little to say here. You can now wait for it to break this, the 34.95. We broke this level, and you flip this, and the sky's the limit on this one. Like, this could really keep going. So just watch this. The volume's extremely light, and you would just probably have to use the breakout bar of 30.5 as your stop. So BNGO, I really like. It finally started shaping up. The other day, we finally got above a higher high. We haven't done that since this debacle started. And we did that here and got above a higher high. So I would just keep that in mind. Now, I like how we're getting above the 50-day here, and it looks like we're going to push. You do have some resistance back here from that 730 level. And then you have more up here at 795. And then, of course, you have this up here at $10, which took us back. I think that's like even a weekly, or maybe it's even a monthly level. Yeah, I mean, that's your month, $10. But the way this is shaping up on the monthly, you're making it a morning star at the bottom of the flag, right on the monthly. So this could run again. This is very interesting here. I would not be not paying attention to this here. I like this. Stay above the 50, and we'll get interested. It's probably too thin for me to put into the newsletter, frankly. So, but I do like it. So BNTX was one of the ones that I gave on the top 10 stocks of the week list to watch. I will link that video at the end of this video for those that want to see how the top 10 are doing right now. You could see what I came up with and then how they're performing. But BNTX, what do you do now? I've been saying this for some time, and when you have a pattern that's really this strong, and we couldn't figure out why it was moving the way that it was moving, but now we're starting to see why it's starting to move the way that it's moved. And I don't want to get into all the fundamentals, but I really am trying to express that, I usually don't buy when you're this close to this line. This is becoming increasingly clear to me that we're going to slingshot through this. I really think we're going to break this channel and go parabolic on this one. I think that's going to happen. And I think it's going to happen sooner than later. Today's volume and the way that came in over the past couple days and how this is starting to creep up is exactly what I wanted to see. We squeezed, and then boom, we went. So definitely keep this one in mind. I like this. At this point, you could buy the higher high. Watch out response to here. First time might not go through, might take a second time, but you'd buy the higher high on this bar and go from there. And this bar is about as bullish as you can get. Opens on support, right? Opens just above support, hits support, bounces, gets through resistance, and just takes out a new high. It doesn't really get much more bullish than that. So CCIV was one that we were in and out of before. And I just want to go over this one. I didn't really get a lot of questions about this one. And I just want to give everyone a perspective. This is the first time we're above the 50-day. Okay. So that means in a long time. So that means that I'm starting to get institutions interested at this level. I'm not an enormous fan fundamentally of this company, but that doesn't matter in regards to whether or not the stock goes up. So what I'm looking at here is get above this 24.96 now. We bounced around down here. From a fundamental standpoint, I always wanted to try and buy it around 15, and I missed it by a couple bucks, which happens. But what I want to see is I want to see you break out this 24.96 and push. So if I break 24.96, my next level is 32.97. So watch this level, and I'm even going to put an alert here on this so that I know. I can just do the touch. I just want to know when it touches it. So that way I'll be notified when this goes up, because I do think that this could continue to move. So CELH just was perfect. And here's your break. And then here's your move. Now, I was asked about this today. Can you chase this? The answer is no. What you really want to see is you want to wait for pullbacks now, and you want to hope that you get them. because now you have a base from January to here. I mean, look how long this base is, right? 4 months. So it's not a bad base. So, you know, I really think that this is going to go, and this is the beginning of the move, but I don't chase because I mean, it's 10 points away from where your stop is. So it's really hard to chase that. I really want to see it come down, sell down one day, you know, for whatever reason, kind of like a UPST. And that's when you're going to take a look at getting in it. That's how I would play this. If you want to be super aggressive, you know, I'm not going to buy the inside day, but if you want to be super aggressive, if it takes out 58, 78, 52, if it takes out this level, you could put a little alert on it, click on this, put the alert on, touch, boom. They notify you when it goes to your, mine goes to my phone and my email. It lights up like a Christmas tree when these go off. So keep that in mind, but that's how you play it aggressively. I mean, you have a channel here that when you pop back into takes this to about $110, $120. So this is really setting up, and I like this one a lot. Chewy I was asked about, so I wanted to cover it. I know a lot of people are looking at this. I see the wedges. This could have gone either way. This could have broken this wedge and turned and went down, or it could have gone up. It's choosing to go up. I will have an interest when it gets over the 50 and the 200 day. Until then, this holds very little interest for me. You also have this line right here. You see the 79.49 line, right? Okay, so you have, hold on. Let me just push that right here so you can see that line. So you see that line? You finally got above it, but you do have some resistances up here. So just be aware of that. You really want to see this break. I don't like buying stocks that are wedged between two moving averages. It means there's a battle going on. And right now the bulls are in charge because we're above the 21 day, but the institutions have shown me that they're not ready to buy because it didn't break there yet. So maybe that's tomorrow, you know, because once it breaks that, it's going to this level. So let's just keep on rolling. So Dash is from the newsletter, and I was asked about it. So I'm going to go over it very quickly. And you can see this little wedge line right here, right? Until this gets over 153, it's no longer actionable. You just have to sit, watch, and wait. Our process is in. Allow our process to work. Yesterday I made a joke, fourth time's the charm. Apparently the fourth time is not the charm because I did not go through. So I'm in it. I'm going to stay in it. I'm going to follow my plan on this one. If it changes, everyone will be the first to know or second to know besides me. But I still think we're going to that 177 level. I still see this as working. DDD, let's just take a look at this. You know, you're getting too close to, let's see, earnings were out. But you're getting close to this level over and over again, right? And look at, you're right there again. So you're trapped now between the 29 where you opened at perfectly and you ran right to the top of this. Now, for all those people that watch that candlestick video on how to determine, you know, morning star patterns, evening star patterns, what is this pattern? It's a morning star, right? You broke down here. Here's your little doji, and then you came up here and you closed right at the top of this. So it's about as perfect of a completion as you can get. And what does a Morningstar signify? For those that don't remember or know, it basically signifies that you're probably at a bottom in the chart process, right? So if you're at a bottom there, what does that mean? It means that the probability of you breaking that 3250 level and getting to this 3967 level is increased. So I'm comfortable with this trade. Follow the plan. This is our plan on it. I got to learn how to spell Friday, apparently. And we'll go from there. But I like this, and I do think it can break out. Fubu is going to be in the newsletter. I have to write it up. I threw that out there today. I'll leave that there because I'm actually I'll use it. I really like this name, and I just was not able to put it out as a write-up. I traded a lot today, so it was very difficult for me. I'm working on something to get the buys out literally instantaneously and ranking whether they're short or longer term, and we'll get to that eventually. Hopefully this week or next week, I'll get something more formalized. But anyway, so you see how you have this 200-day and you're just respecting it. As soon as we hit there today, like, look, I mean, this was it. This was the trade. See this wick? That was it. That was your trade. That's when I bought it. I mean, it was really that simple. Opens, comes down, comes up, higher high, boom. That's it. Trades on, risk on. And there we go. And it just exploded to the upside. I didn't know it was going to move that much. I knew it was going to go. I thought it, I should repeat that. It felt like it was going to go. And now that you're above this red bar here and you're above all this, 2667, this thing's gone. So I think this will continue to go. And that's the way that I'm looking at it now. How do you play it? I don't think you need to wait here just because you moved here. This bar is basically an open at the low, close at the high. You get a higher high here, and this is going to push. From 28 for this thing to go to 32, 33, there's very little stuff that you need to worry about until you get to about 34 and a half. So I like this trade, and this trade is not as far from over, in my opinion. MAC, this was one of the stocks that moved previously in this range in January when all those squeezes happened the first time. And what you're seeing here is, 1815. Look, I really like this, and I think that it can continue to go. It just doesn't have that oomph yet, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to get there. So from this level, let's just see how it acts, and we'll go from there. But overall, I do like this trade. Let me get rid of this line for right now. But overall, I do like this trade. And I do think that this could continue to go. But you don't have any real resistance here, right? So let's just go out for a week and just take a look at this. Yeah, you have all this stuff up here when you get up to this. But you can get up to this fairly quickly because there's no real resistance here, right? It really ends, these breaks really end with the one that broke, right? So like this is the one that broke, this bar, right? So where does that leave us? Leaves us right here. Hold on. Leaves us right here, roughly. No, let's not do roughly. Let's do that. So that roughly leads you to 23. So 23 could be an issue. It rejected it once, maybe again, but $23. I don't see any reason why it's not getting there. So this is one I wasn't asked about. I don't believe, but I really think that you need to take a look at this. So with all these short squeezes going on right now, put this on your radar for tomorrow. This has a massive, massive short position in it. I would watch this. I would really watch this. And the reason I say that is because it could move very fast when it's squeezed, and it could get back up to the 650 very, very quickly. So all you would look for is just a higher high on oversized volume. I mean, everybody remembers this move. So just watch for oversized volume, and then you can kind of go from there. That's like the mother of all gravestone bars. That's crazy. What a day, right? Nvidia, Nvidia I thought would rest. It chose not to rest. It just powered through and just kept on running, and it looks like it's going to continue to. I mean, there's not really much more to say here. You're just flipping level after level. I am very surprised. This is the weekly on it. I am very surprised that we're flipping these upper channels still, and you can see this today. I thought we'd rest right here. Because when you have these bars, it's really indecision. Like we're like, I don't know what I want to do. And then we didn't even get to hang out. I mean, we didn't even get a chance to base there before it broke out. So this base is getting kind of wider and wider, right? That means that you're going to have more massive moves coming. So let's see what happens with it. But I would not chase this. I would simply buy it on dips. AMAT looks much better as far as not having had a huge move associated with it yet. So here's RIDE. And the only reason that I have this one up here is I was asked about it, but there are some things that are telling you that this one is setting up to move. And let's get rid of this. Let's look at this. So here's a higher high right here, right? And then we reject. And what happens the second time? We go right through it today. So what I want to get through, and let's get rid of this line for a minute because we don't need it. You have this level right here where you hit here, and then you stopped as well here. I need to get through this line, which is roughly $13. If you get through $13, you have all this. And there is some resistance there, but there's not a lot. there really is not a tremendous amount of resistance in regards to what we're seeing here. And this has a pretty large short interest. So this can move. So keep this in mind. I do like this trade. And I do think that if it breaks this 13 level, that see this wick right here and how that ties right in here, that you could see $18 fairly quickly. RKT I was asked about. This one's always a disappointment. Now, you had to get over this 1980 to start filling the gap. You did that. You ran right to the 200-day, and you stopped. Or, I'm sorry, you ran right to the 50-day, and you stopped. I have the 200 above it, and then I have a full gap fill, and I have major resistance up here. Could it pull one of these? Sure, it absolutely could. I have no interest in trying to figure out if it could or not. There is way too much resistance going on there. And there's way better trades. So that's not something that I would be overly interested in. I would watch that. I mean, if you want key levels and you want to know what to do with it, you have to get through the 50-day. You have to. And then you're going to have the gap fill, the 200-day, and this to contend with. So there's a tremendous amount of resistance in that stock. So if you're looking for these squeeze plays, there's much better ones. This was something that we bought at $14.75 from the newsletter, got out at 21. And got stopped out of the rest at 16 3/4 from here. And we cleared that today, right? So let's look right into this. And let's get rid of this text. And let's get rid of all the segment lines. Okay. So see this wick right here? Look where you closed, right? You closed right on it. So essentially what you need to do now is if you want to play this, you can just play it off of this, $23. Because this wick now is still resistance. See where we closed? You closed right on it. So you have to watch that. And there's obviously a seller there. I mean, this is very nice how we've been from here, right? And how it's just respected this. And this takes time to build. Like this just doesn't happen. So you could trade up, come back down. And I know there's a large short position in here and that could be playing with it too. But if you want to play this one, and I get playing this one now because we're getting through the higher highs and you're really, your next part of getting through the wedge is not until here, $32. So this can move. This has potential. SOXL. So what you're seeing here is, hold on, let's put this here. So these are all our notes from the newsletter. But my point was this with it. We bought in the newsletter, we bought at $32.25 and we were up 25%. And you're in all this minutia and you're not breaking it. You didn't power through it. What you did was reject. And now you're opening and closing on it and you're still trapped in between two of them. So and I have this massive overhead resistance. So for me, what I was getting at was, listen, if you can sell this at $39, $40, get out. And just, if it breaks this level, we can take a look back at it. That's really where I was going with it. Now, for the people that bought here, I don't know if I got into that or not, but for the people that bought here when we were looking at that breakdown the one day, you know, I have stock from that level and I don't plan on selling that stock because I don't think we're getting back to there. I think we could trade around, come back down to here, but I don't think I'm ever getting to this level again. Not anytime soon. So I'd like to continue to hold that position and hold that stock instead of trying to figure out how to buy it back. So TAP I was asked about. You know, I don't really see the comparison to this to CELH, but I understand why somebody would be interested in this. So you have some key levels and you're holding them. Here's a beautiful Morningstar that really bounced. You can see how you bounced right off of that, undercut this, and then right back through it. I mean, that's about as nice as you can get. And so what you're seeing here is now you're seeing this little wedge and now we have a breakout. Look, I like the breakout. This is going to be not the fastest mover in the world. But if you're interested, you need to get above that 61.11. And then what you want to see, right? I mean, you have this huge channel here. This can go. I mean, it can go. I mean, you can get up there 65, 60. Wow. Yeah, you're up there. $70. Maybe even higher. Hold on. Let's get right in there and figure this out instead of doing it half. There you go. So yeah, you're roughly around $72 this can get to. I like it. I mean, I understand why you like it. It's a beautiful chart, like the way the 21's pointing, the 50, the 200. I mean, it's almost like a textbook. So I get it. It's just going to be a slow mover, but you have a nice little deep base here that should get you up here. It should do what you want it to do. So I have two more, and then I want to get through the two stocks that I want you to consider looking at tomorrow if these shorts squeezes continue. And I think they're going to tomorrow, frankly, with the way they acted today. AMC was way too strong for this to just go away. So 1885, TEN. So down here is where we liked it. We got right to this level today. And what did we do? Broke, and then we formed here. You need to be very careful up here. Okay. I still believe we're going to have a big push. So, I've been saying that, and it has huge potential, but you can come back down and test. So if you take out a lower low, you have to understand that if you take out this lower low, hold on. If you take out the lower low on this, you're probably going to here, 17. So just be prepared for that. And if you break that, you're going back down to here, 15. So just keep that in mind. They're your levels, and they're the ones that you need to watch. But would I buy it up here? No. I wouldn't buy it here, and then I have too much resistance up here too. We've had our opportunity, and if you didn't get in, just go on to the next one. So we're going to do UPST. I was pretty clear about this morning pre-market. I hope I was, that we were looking for a buying opportunity. See how we're respecting this level, right? See how we respected it? We undercut it, opened right here on support. Everybody thinks we're fine. Undercut it, made us panic, goes back over the open, and then we encapsulate the entire bar. Now, what I did, because you didn't break out, what I did with it, just so people know, and I mentioned this on Twitter as well, all these bars when I was buying down and buying when we're falling back into the channel and everything, when we got up to this level today, there's a spot right here where you can see where we closed on 157. You see how we hit these two wicks here, and that's where we stopped, and we couldn't get above that, which shows price rejection. So that's why I trimmed it, just so people understand. That was the thing that I saw, how these two lines are going across and how you stopped right here. You also stopped here. That made me want to just sell a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit, so that when it comes back down, I'll buy the rest of that position back, right? If it doesn't come back down and it breaks out, I have a position on. Either way, I'm set to make money. And that's really what you're trying to do. But this was a fairly easy trade today, and I'm just going to walk through it a little bit. What we're going to do here is we're going to get rid of all of this, and we're going to get rid of all these indicators. So let's just get right into this. Okay. So here we are today. Okay. So I don't know why. Let me do it this way. Might be easier. No, it's not easier. Maybe it'll be easier on a 15-minute and then draw down. Yeah, this will be easier. Okay. So let me just divide this up so that you can see this right here. Okay. So here you are during the day, right? Now just look at this, just so you can understand this. Okay. You have a little wedge here, right? You have a little wedge right up here. Okay. So here's your little falling wedge that's falling through from the day before. Everyone should kind of understand this and see where these levels are. Once this wedge is in place, okay, that's really my guide to understanding what I'm dealing with. So even though it's down here and you're cursing, going, I can't believe this thing's falling apart, blah, blah, blah. When you have an understanding of these levels, you can kind of look at it and make a decision, okay? Now, when you do that, and you see a reversal like this, and is this a reversal? It kind of is, and this is why. You see how the end of this bar, the open, is lower than the close here, and how the high of this is basically right in line with the high of that bar. So I have a bullish engulfing on the lower end of a channel, right? There's your buy. I mean, it's not much more than that. Then you see, okay, I have to see how it gets and responds to the top of this. right? And then you could draw these out a little bit and see if they tell you a little bit of something, and they kind of do, don't they? Right? See how you opened here, and then after you got out of the rising channel, the number one bar that did that, what did it do? Exploded to the upside. Rallies, forms a wedge right here, keeps going, right? Boom, breaks out of that one, rallies. And then when we just got up here, I looked at that level, and that's where I got out of it. So that's how I traded that. I still think this is going to take out highs and be a massive builder, but I do. I think this continue to build this position. I think this is going to be around for a while. But I'll clone. I thought it said close. That's not what we want. Let's remove this one too. So very quickly, I'm going to go through two stocks. Okay. And these are just very simple trades. This has a 30% short interest in it right now. Okay. And no one's even paying attention to this. And what's going to happen with these names tomorrow? If AMC goes wild, which it has the potential to do again, the names that didn't move are going to be the first ones that are going to start to move, because people are going to start drilling down into it. Okay. Just like they did, just to give you an example of it, they go to the secondary and tertiary names. Just like when Bitcoin ran too much, everybody started looking at alternative coins and started buying Ethereum as well. Why? It's cheaper. That's going to happen here. And that's what the type of volume, and that's what you're going to see. So what you're going to look for is a break of this level. And I'm not talking about the fundamentals of this company or anything super technical. Watch this line tomorrow. This is CLVS, okay? And watch what happens here. If you get above this line tomorrow, you're going to just start taking out these levels, 650, 730. I mean, that's what you're going to be looking for, those levels, okay? Just keep that in mind, all right? So this is one that you're going to put on the radar. And this one I'm not an enormous fan of, but price is price, and I need to pay attention to it because that's all that really matters. So I really like the way that this is set up here. Let me just do it this way. Shrink this down and then come over. So there we go. This is what I wanted to get into. Perfect. So here you are right down here, okay? And you are riding this line, and then you pop above it. But look at this. You're sitting right at this level. Now you're through this level tonight, okay? This is actually going to be in the newsletter, this one. You're through that level tonight. And I saw that. I'm like, boy, this is setting up to really run. There was some positive news out there on pot. The ones that I thought were going to move, they're still setting up to move. But with the short interest in this name and what's going on right now and the positive news that's coming out, this one's setting up for like a little bit of a perfect storm. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this really squeeze up to a 30 or a 25, something like that. It could happen. And this is obviously TLRY, and I'll just put this up there. And, again, I'm not getting into the fundamentals. I'm not saying these are long-term trades, but this is setting up the same way. So if this was helpful, please like the video. It helps me get in front of other people to show them what it takes to truly be successful trading. And also, please comment on which one of these ideas you like the most, and also what I could do to make these videos better. So that's it. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.